Greetings, sweet souls. My name is Jess. I am a healer and guide, and I tune in today to bring to you this message or report or sharing, I guess, of a bit about my story and also some things that have been happening in my world of late. I'm going to kind of go way back here and just start with the fact that um, I woke up in 2017, or I had my first huge spiritual experience in 2017 that really pushed me into this path of ascension that I'm on now. Currently, I operate a spiritual healing brand in Texas. I do a lot of in-person events in the Houston area, the greater Houston area, and online and virtually as well. And I've really been wondering how and asking my guides, how do I get online? Because I want to grow this online. I feel like I really needed the in-person stuff to kind of grow my confidence in owning this position as a spiritual healer and guide. And now I'm really ready to just kind of step into the online space and grow a community here. And so they said that I'm ready. There's been so much confirmation. And one of the things that I'm trying to be very careful with my words. But one of the things that I'm stepping into and kind of having troubles stepping into, I guess, even though I don't like to say the word troubles, it's just been it's been the hardest step up there for me is acknowledging my channeling abilities and coming into channeling as an individual. Of course, when I give guidance readings and I read the tarot automatically opens a pathway for me to channel guidance from my higher guides or whoever I'm reading their higher guides. And so in meditation, when messages come through, it's harder for me to trust them. I think anybody can resonate with that. But lately, I've been pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed to declare myself as a channel, to share the channelings that I get, to share the wisdom that comes through because it's real and it's valid. And it doesn't matter who it's coming from necessarily. It's just messages that need to be broadcasted. And so I'm here this week. It is the anniversary of one of my beautiful friends, Dan's transition day. When I say transition, I should really say transformation day or departure day. He drowned in 2017, and that was really the catalyst of my awakening. I went a little bit mad, in grief when he died, and I, through meditation and everything, it opened up this huge Kundalini activation, this huge channeling spell that I went through. And it was an activation in experience. And so since then, I've been able to channel. I've gaslit myself and told myself that I'm just making it up over and over and over again, but I can't really deny it anymore. And so in the last few months, even, I've had so much confirmation that in honor of Dan and just in honor of where I'm at spiritually, I feel like I owe it to myself. I owe it to the collective. I owe it to my community to start on this path as reporting channelings that happened to me in meditation. And so I'm going to kind of just share what happened yesterday, and then I'm going to kind of rewind back. I think that's what makes sense. You know what? No, I'm going to start a few months back. So some context, the last solar eclipse or just eclipse window, I started channeling these galactic beings called the Lyrans. And I totally gaslit myself. I was like, hey guys, I'm part of this light working group. It is kind of manned or headed by Shawna Francis, who I consider a spiritual mentor of mine. And we're all preparing to go to her casitas in Mexico in November. And I kind of started this a year ago. I just knew that I needed to, through bibliomancy, actually, and my guides Melchizedek, I knew that I needed to go see her, or I needed to be with her, or I needed to be activated by her. And I was activated for light language in Mexico on the 2023 solar eclipse in April. And so I kind of got this inkling that we needed to meet again. And of course, she is a live embodied channel for Melchizedek. And she um, confirmed, yes, absolutely. And it should be around this time in November. And so, great. Like, we all prepared. So I was in that group and I was like, hey, I'm getting these downloads about what we're supposed to be working on for this eclipse. We do work over eclipses. And I don't know how this started. I actually think that it might have been me who started it, because in 2017, my activation and awakening through Dan was over an eclipse. And then in 2022, autumn of 2022, I had a completely different activation over an eclipse. My first activation in 2017, my spontaneous Kundalini activation, it it was over as fast as it started. Like, I was paralyzed for a good hour in Kundalini, and it was just this buzzing all through my body. And I went through all this channeling, and of course I was going in between conscious and theta states, and I didn't know if I was hallucinating or not, and all this stuff. And so I went back to sleep because I didn't trust the experience. I had also been severely depressed right before, and then Dan died, and it switched me from depression to, like, immediately the news or the announcement of his death immediately switched me into this, oh my God, life's so precious, life's so special. How could I have ever wanted to, I've been in such a state of despair, I guess. And, through that experience and everything, I kind of labeled myself as like manic depressant or whatever. But going to therapists, going to psychologists, they all kind of were like, we don't really agree with that. And so I had to really be real with myself when it happened again a few years later. That clicked something in my brain to really set on the spiritual path. I didn't trust it for a while, but then it was just like this bubbling or boiling in me, and I couldn't ignore it anymore. And so in 2022, there was a lot of catalysts that happened, a lot of changes that happened. I left my career in marketing and PR. Um, Whew, I left my marriage. There was a lot. And so I changed my career and I just picked up a job tarot reading. And so much has happened since then. And so here I am a few months later in the first eclipse of 2024. Yes. So this first eclipse in April. I'm like, I have this collective called the Lyrans and the Lions of Lyra, and they are downloading all this information to me. And I kind of reported it to my light working group, and they were like, oh my God, there was this one person who actually activated me in light language in Mexico when I went in 2023. She was like, hey, I actually channeled the Lyrans a few years before, and they said similar things. So it was confirmation that I wasn't just exaggerating, that I was actually typing for Lyrans. Like, my thumbs were kind of taken over. So this automatic writing coming through me. And it's funny because I teach this stuff. I teach psychic skills. I teach tarot reading. I teach psychic interpretation. And yet when I do it for myself, I still kind of struggle with believing. And it's just telling. It's just telling that this is the work. This is the work. Trust is the work. So fast forward to a couple weeks ago, or actually just like a month ago, I went and I visited my spiritual mentor. She came to Austin. So I'm in Houston. I traveled to Austin with my partner, and we met her for a wedding for somebody who is also in our network. And Melchizedek, she did a live channeling with Melchizedek, and Melchizedek, who I consider to be my primary guide, allowed everyone who was there to ask a question. And so everyone asked their question, it got to me, and it's funny because I have all the questions in the world for Melchizedek, and then when I'm in their energy, it's like they all just fade away. It's like there's this level of knowing with them. And so I was in that, and I just kept it very broad, and I asked, what would you like me to know? And Shawna tunes in and she says, "My dear soul, you will soon be an embodied guide." And so this was amazing. And so Shawna kind of asked who it would be with, and they would not disclose that. I have a feeling that it's with them because I'm studying their material. I'm creating groups around their material. But who am I to know? So this happened, and like probably the end of May, I think, or May, the middle of May. So a little over a month ago. And then the end of June, I started meditating again. And I've been on and off in meditation. I really need to learn discipline. I've been asking my guides, can I please learn discipline? I need some help with discipline. And so I was sitting down to meditate, and I kept seeing the Buddha in my head. The Buddha, the Buddha, the Buddha. And I'm like, okay. And I was kind of playing with my cards. I was doing a little bit of divination. Um, and it just, the image wouldn't get out of my head. So I actually have a set of Buddhist reading cards. So I picked those up and I pulled some cards and they didn't make sense. So I'm like, and I have this feeling that I need to write. So I open up a document and I am like, okay, is the Buddha here? Is, are you guys wanting to, do you have a message basically? Um, and suddenly these words just started coming from my fingers and it said, yes, loved one, it is I, the Buddha. I want you to know you are chosen in various ways. You have come to connect consciousness to the grid and enlighten those who have fallen victim to the indoctrination of your world. You are a sacred sage and yes, a hybrid of the Most High, as your friend has said recently. I have come to you because your energy is in need of strengthening, and it will be done by way of parable, which I have not received any of these parables yet. I don't know what that means. Anyways, to continue. If I were to come to earth again, there would be many disbelievers, many who would cherish and worship me, and others who would want me dead. So we masters come through the hearts of men and women who are ready. You are ready, my dear, and you must abandon all of your mistrust in yourself, mistrust in this ascension, mistrust in the masters. It is all happening. It is all with grace. It is through me one learns the torments of their own mind, how to ease them and how to overcome them. I have been a guide for you for many years now. My energy has been in the background, supporting you and guiding you. Much of your wisdom is my voice in your ear. The truth is many of the masters are with you, dear one, and we have come with you to carry on our knowledge. The world is in transition, and we would never abandon it. It is only our physical presence that would mean its immediate destruction. We are there with you now, stoking the fire of the heart, keeping your mind at bay. You are the magic of the universe in form. Act like it. I leave you now in mindfulness and warmth, but do know we never fully leave. Namaste. And I was kind of like, what? Like, and I definitely went through this whole gaslighting process where I'm like, that was crazy. I don't think this is real, blah, 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 blah. And I've been in healings the past couple months too. I had this one activation from this healer named Demi. I highly recommend her. I can link her in the show notes. And also an old college peer named Belle who did this healing on me and activation. And both of them said that there were new guides that were in cadence for me to meet and that I'd be working with them soon. And so the Buddha comes into form. And also one of them they both presented me with the same book, which was the Sophia Code. And so all of those guides are coming through too. And I've really connected to the Hathors and the Magdalene, which are basically the same thing, just different time periods, different names. And I have also seen a past life in my past life work as a Hathor priestess in ancient Egypt. So I know that I'm connected to those things in some way. And both said that I had some type of rose, like signature. I don't know what that means, but like the Magdalene, the rose codes, all of that. And so I feel like there's guidance here. I feel like there's guidance with the Buddha. But the Buddha is supposed to be teaching me discipline. So after this happened, I call in Melchizedek the same day, and this is June 27th. And I say, Melchizedek, is this, am I like picking up what you're putting down? Like, what's happening here? Melchizedek says, yes, dear one, we sent the Buddha to you. You will be working with them for a time. Now it is recommended you sit with the Buddha for 30 minutes daily and take comfort in their energy. You are on your way to becoming embodied. Keep studying, keep healing, but most of all, keep sitting. It's time you remember who you are. We love you and we are word. And so I was like, okay. And I got this overwhelming, just showering of love after that, this heart opening. And so then I tuned back into the Buddha and I kind of was like, okay, Buddha, I know you're still here. I can feel you. Um, I was thinking of making a video that day and I actually did, and I never posted it. And here I am redoing the video and posting it now. So practice makes perfect, right? Anyways, so I was like, hey, do you have anything to say to the collective? And they said, of course we would. If you don't know, and I don't know why this being kind of switches between we and my, and it kind of reminds me of Melchizedek. I don't know if the Buddha is a collective now, like Buddhist consciousness. I don't know, but Melchizedek's the same way. Like some think he's an archangel, some think he's a collective, some see him as like this old master, and they've called themselves like all of the above. So it's kind of confusing. And I feel like just like we are ever changing, these things kind of shift. So it says, of course we will. If you don't know, my origin started in an environment that was anything but humble. I was born into a lavish family, and I denounced it for the sake of my mind. Through attachments, we suffer. And so to the collective, we say, it would be wise of you to consider those things you are consumed by: the house you want versus the house you live in, the clothes you wear, the car you drive or desire to drive. What does it all mean? Does the mental energy expended on these things matter? Who are you without these things? Who are you without what you do for these materials? Are you your work? Are you your earnings? Do you identify as your job title? We would say now is an optimal time for the collective to consider this as a whole and decide if they feel they are more than this. It is your will to identify beyond this, your birthright, in fact. We will be back with more, but for now, answer these questions amongst yourselves and be at peace. Namaste. And then I kind of like, I had enough. I like tuned out. I was like, okay, I'm supposed to be sitting with the Buddha for 30 minutes. A day. And so the next day I took it pretty seriously. I sat down and I was like, okay, the Buddha, like I'm here to channel. Like, what would you like to say today? And they actually were like, we would just like you to sit today. You must learn to discipline the body. And so I sat there and I struggled to stay still. I squirmed and I kept shifting. And like what I'm sitting on right now is this beautiful foam mattress that I kind of have in my office as like this bohemian sitting pad slash hypnosis space slash meditation space. And it has these beautiful cushions behind me. And so I have troubled hips, I guess. And I feel like they've stored a lot. I've had a traumatic birth when I was born. And so I've had some struggles with my hips growing up. And even into my adult age, they get kind of sore. So I kept shifting my body. I kept moving. I had to readjust time after time. And the Buddha really presented as like this Miyagi figure of like discipline, stop moving, be still. You have to resist the pain, all of this stuff. And I really respected this, and I understand why it is happening. Because you have to be able to discipline the body in order to discipline the mind. It goes body, mind, and then spirit. And I've known this innately since I was a kid, but I feel like when I did take the small bit of Eastern studies in college, they kind of came up with that. And I've also, when I started my journey, My journey started in 2017, but really I could say it started before that because when I lost my hair, that was really the dark night of the soul for me, or a dark night of the soul for me. And because I feel like we might go through multiple, even though I really consider that like the lowest of the low for me. And Dan's death being kind of the bookend of that chapter of my life. Um and so yeah, going through that dark night of the soul, one of the things that I kind of in my mind kind of happened when I was going through that was the baldness. I shaved my head after it had gotten to a point, it was just ugly, like, and I hate to use that harsh language, but my hair was gross. It was really thin. You could see bald spots anytime I moved. It was just gross. I only had hair like my crease, and I was holding on to it for who knows why. There's so many reasons that I could get into. I'm not going to get into those readings. But alopecia can be difficult. And like not really now. I'm totally comfortable with it now. I totally think it served a purpose in my life. I was going down a very vain path, and it kind of slammed me awake. One of the things that I've always carried with me, one of the things that have come up in my life as strength is just being authentic, being able to hold a space for someone to be themselves, and accepting them and letting them be comfortable being themselves. And so in, my community, I attract all sorts of people of different creeds, of different races, of different religions, of different ethnicities, of different mental capacities. And so, and I take pride in that. And I probably shouldn't be prideful of it, but I do. It's one of the things that I love about my energy is I can attract all kinds. And I can talk to people who are, I have people in my community who are 60, 70, and I have people who are like teenagers. And I talk to all of them and they all feel welcome. I love that. And when I was in my early 20s after college, I had this arrogance about me and I was really losing that part of myself. And that's really something that I know that I'm here on this earth to do, is to kind of blend that again, because humans in early existence, they really had this, I'm going to use that word again, blend of this dynamic. You had the elders and they were watching the young, and the middle-aged were going out and picking the berries and hunting the food and all the stuff. This community, like, it needs all ages, all creeds, all diversities. And so and like our strength is in, our differences, not necessarily um in our similarities. So So I don't know what I was getting at, but we were talking about my hair loss and how I was kind of getting away from that. And so one of the things that kind of came to me when I was going through that time was, why do Buddhists shave their heads? And after I had the experience of shaving my head, I felt so empowered, because it was like I felt so out of control of my body and I felt so betrayed by my body that by shaving my head, I actually felt like I took my power back. And so Buddhism came into my life, and that's really the gateway that got me here. And it was after I kind of had walked away from Christianity. I had had some weird experiences, and even, growing up, I didn't really appreciate how my parents, could say that they were Christian, could say that they were God-fearing and all this stuff, but never went to church. I didn't really like that. I thought it was hypocritical. I thought that some of the church was indoctrination. I still think the church is indoctrination, but my guides are biblical. Melchizedek is very biblical. The Jewish, they come from the Kabbalah and all that stuff. And so those are the guides who presented themselves to me first. Although I could say now that the Buddha might be who presented to me first. And Ganesh. Oh my God, Ganesh. That was another early experience. So I have these guides of all different creeds and religions and backgrounds and all that stuff. Buddhism was really the gateway to where I am now. So this is the third day in. I sit with the Buddha, the 29th, and I'm opening meditation and I'm kind of clearing the channel, which, in meditation, in formal meditation, when you sit, you're supposed to listen to your thoughts and dismiss them, basically. You're supposed to create a space to hear out your ego, basically. And so that's what I was doing. I was listening to my thoughts. I was trying to clear it so I could get to a place to channel. And um, I kind of felt like I should involve the Buddha with this. And so I called in the Buddha and everything. And I was like, okay, Buddha, like, I'm just going to kind of present these thoughts to you. And I want you to tell me like what comes up. So the first thing that came up to my mind was actually gossip. Because that week I had been kind of in this gossiping is a habit that I'm really trying to break. It's a really hard habit to break. And I'm just trying to be real with everyone. I do think that external processing is necessary sometimes. I'm a tarot reader, for heaven's sakes. Like, I definitely need to, or definitely believe in that. However, there was some gossiping happening because I was really angry about a situation at work this week. And this person just threw me off. And I was just very frustrated that this keeps coming up for me. It's definitely like a karmic pattern that I need to see through. And so this habit of gossiping was the first thought that came to my mind in meditation. And so I said, Buddha, what should I do to stop gossiping? Like, how would you recommend? And the Buddha came in and said, gossip is one of the most prominent ways one can drain their energy. When one gossips, the words that pour out contain precious energy, precious life force. Opinions of others should not decide how we treat others. Even when one has behaved badly, when we understand behavior is only a result of habitual thought, we can find forgiveness for that person. Forgiveness is mercy for your own consciousness, not others. I love that. I'm going to repeat that. Forgiveness is mercy for your own consciousness, not others. Ooh, so juicy. I'm going to repeat it a third time. From the Buddha, through me. I just get so excited, guys. I can't believe this is happening. Forgiveness is mercy for your own consciousness, not others. The next time gossip comes to visit, just smile and say nothing, or say yikes and walk away. Work instead on releasing the hurt from your heart rather than hurting someone else's reputation. So juicy. So I was like, thank you. Thank you, Buddha. And then the next thought that came was, what about relationships in life that are troublesome? Buddha, do you have anything to say about that? I can't remember what relationship came up, but I think it was just that same situation that I mentioned at work. And the Buddha said, our relationships are some of the most consuming experiences in life. Just remember, the relationship with yourself is the most important. I think the Buddha is funny because the Buddha is so simple. Like, Buddhist teachings are very, I don't want to say basic, that's not the right word, because they can be very deep, and paradoxes can be very simple yet very deep. And so I don't know, I just loved the simplicity of that answer. So then my mosquito bite started itching, and I said, Buddha, what about mosquito bites? And he said, I have many things to think about, but those are no longer one of them. Then he kind of directed me back to my meditation, and he said, okay, dear one, like, you need to focus. And then I saw this it was kind of funny, but I said, please help if you can. And I saw this tiny little Buddha figure in my mind, like swinging, like this visual came to my mind. And he was swinging from certain energetic cords in my mind and snipping them. And then my mind was very quiet, and I saw him hop from my head onto my shoulder. And after the meditation was over, um, he just said, the mind and the body are things you must gain control of in life. They can be your biggest asset or your greatest detriment. Sitting still is an important act to master because it reminds your body that you are the master. Quieting the mind is an important skill because it reminds the mind that it is a tool. These meetings are to discipline the physical and mental worlds so your spiritual and emotional worlds are blissful. Thank you for showing up today. Namaste. So then I was a bad girl and I didn't check in for like a week. And so on the 5th, I kind of checked in and I couldn't really sit still again. And I was seeing this really weird visual of like the Buddha, and they were shape-shifting into like this like lizard-like thing. And I heard, thank the body, like give thanks to your body, give thanks to your body. And so I didn't know if that was any interference with like negatively polarized beings or not. Um, but I just kind of sat for as long as I could, which was about 15 minutes. And then I just moved on with my day. And then I was a bad girl again. And this is what I'm saying. I really need to work on discipline. So by making this video, I'm like almost putting it out there, like hold me accountable, or it will hold me accountable. So then a week went by, and like I said, this is the week of my beloved Dan, like his passing. And so the 10th was the anniversary of that. And so the 11th, I had my friend Devin come over, and she is a medium. And Dan came through right away. And we weren't even trying really. Like, I just kind of went with the intention. Like, I text her and I said, hey, um, or she wanted to come over or whatever. And then I was like, yeah, you know what? Dan's departure day was yesterday. I'd love to see if he could come through. And he just came through. We were sitting and talking in the living room, and she was just like, oh, there's somebody who came through, and like it's Dan. And we've talked to Dan before. And Dan came through, and it was weird because like everything I had been thinking of, like once we knew she was going to come over the next day, um, everything I had been thinking of, waiting for her arrival was just about like what I would ask him. And I was thinking about what he would think about me leaving my marriage, what he would think. Like I just had all these questions, and he came through and he just gave me answers right away. I didn't even have to ask them to Devin. Like she just gave answers that I had been like questioning before she even got to my house, or to the house that I live in. Yeah, it was so magical. But then, I really wanted to exchange energy. And so I don't know why, but I just had this intention that I was going to channel, and I did. And the Buddha came in, like, and I didn't even try it. It was just like suddenly the energy in the room shifted. We both felt it. And I said, the Buddha's here. And I was like, the Buddha wants to talk with you. And she was like, okay. And we both have been kind of struggling in the last year or so. And so we've kind of like connected in that way. And so I channeled the Buddha for her. And I wish I recorded it, but I didn't. But I did take away like two things from the Buddha that I thought were so profound. So one thing that Devin asked the Buddha came in and he was just like, we'd like to speak with you, but first we would like you to tell us what you want to know. And she asked about what she should be doing, like with her life in general. And the Buddha said, there is nothing to do but be. Everything is being done, which is a very like Taoist, Buddhist concept. Like you don't need to do anything, just be, the chop wood, carry water type thing. And then when Devin asked about mediumship, she was like, I really feel called to do mediumship, but I just don't think it can support me financially. He said some things about that. But then she asked how to improve her mediumship. And what I remember is he basically said that when you're doing mediumship, you're basically connecting someone else's past to the present moment. So a past loved one, a past loved one who's passed, you're basically bringing them into the present moment. So the best thing you can do to practice mediumship is to practice the present moment. I thought that was so profound because I had actually been wondering about how to improve my mediumship too. And I thought that was amazing advice from the Buddha. So anybody who's a medium out there who tries to kind of get guidance or get connected to people's loved ones, that is some advice you can take away from this report from the Buddha. And then Melchizedek came through and had a long conversation with Devin. Through me, I felt so honored to channel Melchizedek. And one of the things that she asked Melchizedek about was grief and how to transmute it. And they said this: grief is just an expression of love disguised as fear. Grief means you cared. So take the care you felt for the person, the job, the thing, and instead of expressing it as fear, express it as love, the love that it is. I thought that was beautiful advice about grief. I feel like there's a lot of people going through grief right now, whether it's people who've passed or, um, in Texas, we just had this hurricane and there's been grief around that. And so a lot of people are losing their businesses right now because places have been out of power for weeks or a week, not weeks, a week, days. And so, some people just can't afford that. And so there's just a lot of grief in the air right now collectively. And so I think that that was necessary to report. And so, you know, the channeling was so natural. It was so natural that she was like, wow, like this is something you should be doing. And it was big confirmation for me because like I said, I just need I hate that I need it. And I shouldn't even say I hate it, but it's so crippling to me to need external validation. And it's something that I'm really working on. It's something that all of us are working on, right? But today, since I was so encouraged, I just was like, I have to ride this wave. And so I sat for meditation. I called in the Buddha, but then I was like, you know what? I kind of want to call in my whole team. In the background of all of this, I've been doing the Sophia Code initiations when I can. They're kind of long, and I've been doing them every few weeks because they're kind of intense. And so I called in the people who I have been initiated with. I called in Melchizedek. I called in my angelic council and realm. I called in my Lyrans. And I just was like, whoever would like to come through, I am in meditation. My mind was already kind of quiet. It was already kind of prepped to meditate. I did my visualization of going into the upper room with the ladder, and like I was just there and I like walked into the upper room and I just saw this council of beings sitting like in this like cloud kind of dome, and they were all clapping when I got there. Like, yay, like you made it. You're here. You've arrived. You called us all here. And I just waited for people to come through or beings to come through. And then it was kind of like this Rolodex. I saw this Rolodex going through. It was almost like these are my contacts in the upper room. And the Hathors came in. And when I called them in, I kind of got this like bubbling through my system originally because I have been initiated into the Hathors through the Sophia Code. And also, I've had activations through Hathor through other members in my light working group. And so I know that I know that I'm connected to them in some way. So they came up and they said through automatic writing, and then it was like I couldn't ignore it. Okay, I'm just gonna, yeah. It says, we are the Hathors, and we come to you in light and love. Thank you for calling on us today. We have been waiting for you to call. We come to you offering help in your growth as a channel. We'd love for you to start We'd love for you to start. And then I just started coughing. That's what it is. Sorry. We'd love for you to start. And then I started coughing. And it was like, like it was overwhelming. Like it was just this tickle in my throat that was so strong I couldn't ignore it. And so I was like, I don't know what to do. And then like my microphone just came into view. And so I was like, okay, maybe I need to start a video and just start talking. And so I did. And they came through with this like video recording, and I'm not going to include it here. I'm just kind of going to summarize that they came through and they were basically saying you need to use your voice. Like you need to start talking. You talk already so much through your work, and you need to start sharing it to a wider audience. You need to start using your voice more to heal, your voice more to share, to broadcast. And so they gave me this assignment of humming, and they were just humming through me. And it was the weirdest thing. It felt like my vocal cords were being taken over and like stretched. And I actually looked this up, and the Hathors are deeply connected to music. And yeah, it was a crazy experience. And then I got towards the end, though, my hips started hurting and I did start shifting, and I kind of lost that attunement. And I called in Melchizedek and I was like, Melchizedek, like, what's going on? And they were like, yes, this is all real. And then I just was like, okay, Melchizedek, do you have any messages for me or for the collective. And they said that we would like to say that we love you and we know who you are in truth. We have received your messages and your consent to work with us, and we honor this. We have great patience for you, dear one. We must honor the others who have come to work with you as well, and we will say there are pressing matters at hand for us. So take these assignments we have given and permitted and learn from them. By the time you have graduated from them, it will be time for us to do our work together. And I was kind of like, work together? Like, what's the work we're supposed to be doing together? And at the beginning of this year, I do the team. I do this work at the beginning of every new year. I have this ritual that I do with my guides. I write a bunch of stuff out, like stuff I'm supposed to do, ideas that I have, and I put them all in a mason jar and I just kind of feel each one until one kind of lights up my system and then I pull it or heat or whatever. One of the things that I got was decorating, because I love to decorate. It's one of my favorite things to do. I started a staging company when I lived in Seattle, and I did that for a while, and it was starting to take off, and I just blew it all up. And I had been talking about to someone about maybe starting another staging business in Texas, but it just seems like such a hassle and like it would take up so much energy, so it fell through. But I put it in there just to see, because when I do this exercise, I put in things that I know are wrong, but it's just like a thing for me to like test my discernment with. It's like I put those things in, as much as things that I really want and dreams that are really big. And I put those things in just to see like what comes out. And so one of the things I put in there was decorating, and it was kind of this median thing of like, well, this is something that would be kind of cool. But then what I do is I take these things and I put them all facing down so I can't see what they say. And I pick it up and I just channel. It's just a channeling practice. And so what I did was I had the decorating one and I didn't know I had the decorating one. And one of the things that came through is, dear one, you're supposed to be decorating darkness. And it was this whole idea around like how to take darkness and transform it into something beautiful. And it's a book that I'm supposed to write with Melchizedek. And so I kind of asked them, like, is this the book that you're talking about? And they said, yes. Like, this is some work that we're supposed to do together. It's a way to teach transmuting and holding space for darkness for the light to know. The work you're doing now informs it. And I think that they were referencing my hypnosis work where I help take entities off of people. But one of the skills that I've learned is how to talk to these dark beings that have attached to people's auric fields and who drain their energy. It's a skill that I have, and I love that work. I love being able to talk to darkness like it's light and remind it that it's light. And I believe that that's the work of the worlds. That's the work of God. Like, you have to be able to talk to darkness and remind it of what it is so that we can eradicate it, or not necessarily eradicate it, but know how to work with it instead of against it. So I asked Melchizedek if they had any messages for you guys. This was today. And they said, yes. We would like to let your constituents know that now more than ever is a time of choice. Timelines are splitting, not spitting. Timelines are splitting even farther now. It will be harder to reach back across the path at anything from before. This might be a time where you lose your job, your home, your lover, etc. The message is not about what it means, but rather how you react. There is a reason for these things, you know, and the reason extends beyond you. Systems are being dissolved, structures are collapsing, and so make way for a world anew. We know who you are in truth. We know what you are in truth. We know how you serve in truth, and we witness you all on your journeys, and we say word. We commend you. We are word through this message. Let it be so. And I was just tickled by this. And so I said, Melchizedek, I'm sure you know, but I'm starting this upper room study guide or students of the word. I haven't figured out what to call it yet, although I got my answer today. And I said, I'm starting this upper room study group. I just wanted to know, like, do I have your approval? Do I have your consent? And of course they were like, yes. But I was like, what do you think? What do you need me to know about it? They said, yes, dear one, we are so honored you have considered our teachings enough to create your own study group, and we support it. You may call on us anytime you'd like to attend with you. We are thrilled. We are thrilled. We are thrilled. And then I asked what name they would like me to go with, students of the word or the upper room. And they said either is fine, but with your energy, we would prefer the upper room. And so okay, we're going to start a study group called the upper room. It's going to be great. And it's basically with Paul Selig's material. If you are interested in joining, I could put that in the show notes as well. And then I tuned into the Buddha. I just called the Buddha forward and I was like, hey, do you have anything to say? And they said, nothing in addition to what we have already shared. We would like you to share it, loved one. Namaste. And then I was like, okay. And then I tuned into this video. So you guys, I don't know what you think. I don't really care anymore. Like, not that I don't care. I care about you and your opinions and your beliefs and your ideas and you as consciousness. I do care. But in terms of my channeling and my videos and my content, I am excited to bring this to you. I'm excited to be stepping out and claiming this as something that I do. And I'd love to know your feedback. I'd love to know your feelings that you got during listening to this. This was a long one. I'm a little bit long-winded, so if you like that type of thing, you in the right place. You could also put this at like 2 times speed and listen to me talk like 10 times faster, or at least 2 times faster. And it would be great. It would be great for you and your time management. But anyways, I love you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in. I hope to bring you more. I hope to stay more disciplined. Please keep me accountable. Be like, Jess, where are the videos? But that's not your job, but I'd love it. And I'd so appreciate it if you lent me that assistance. And thank you so much. I am going to be doing these bi-weekly, these channeling kind of reports or energy reports. I don't know what I'm going to call them yet. I'm going to tune into my guides after this video and decide. And then I'm also going to be doing a um, tarot reading once a month at the beginning of the month for all signs and also for the collective. And so that's kind of the content schedule that I've committed to, I guess. And I'm super excited to be bringing that to you. I will be working with the Buddha, working with the Lyrans, and working with the Hathors and bringing them their messages forward to you. So I would love to have you weekly. And until the next video, be well. And I hope to see you back here. Thanks for tuning in.